Wednesday, August 26th, 11:50 a.m. What's up, everybody? Checking back in the markets again, back on CF. You can see we do not have a position, but a couple quick points I wanted to talk about today, kind of reflecting. Obviously, we've retreated off where we've sold. We sold right at covered at 130.86, I believe, but pretty much the momentum or kind of the break of the 130 back into Friday of last week. Really not wanting to hold into the weekend. We can see we did get some continuation to the upside, but very briefly. This was just Monday morning, and Monday's typically a heavier volume of the 5 trading session, typical business days. So we did get some appreciation, but pretty much immediately after we close, as we like to see, we retreat off the highs. Frankly, kind of our talking point in terms of a trading technical consideration, is there a way to predict that? Is there a way to minimize doing that? Meaning, was there any way to say, hey, we closed at 130.86, blipped up to 132.50, but then we were kind of retraced at least a noticeable move. Again, anything but below or above 128, I wouldn't have really considered it a break lower. But just with the overall, again, appreciation from the geopolitical climate of Iran and the United States, any sort of headline of resolution, memorandum of understanding, just any attempt at resolution whatsoever, we expect a decrease to the downside. We kind of conjectured, hey, we're going to see less sensitivity just to all things conflict or just any given economic event. Something happens, people go, ooh, ah, good or bad, and then regardless, people get used to whatever the information is. That's pretty well established psychologically. Our price action on CF, as we can see, this 130 level, this is where I was kind of, again, if we were breaking the 130, why don't we trade back up to the 140s? So another $10 a share on 45, 50 shares, $450, $500 more dollars was just right at that decision point where it's like, hey, right, we lost $450 on Datadog. Do we want to turn it into a snowflake where we lose $1,000? It was just kind of the overall dollar figure. It's not really the move, but it is what it is. Almost like it's the form of all language, which is proven and supposed to be protected by the Constitution, but it isn't. So we're trying to jiggle around with the stocks, and we jiggled the wrong way today. But point being is just, again, emphasizing this hard reset of sentiment. When we closed at this 130.86, the weekend happens. We still get a little appreciation to the upside, but we don't close up. And again, it's just, I really don't have constitutional rights, so we just preserve capital at all costs, make a little bit of trade, and then it's just hard cut decisions. But I don't really think there's a meaningful way. There's just such a hard reset of sentiment in price action. We could be trading up hard, really strong into the close on Friday, and even over the weekend's a bigger reset. But even on a Tuesday to a Wednesday, or from today, which is Wednesday to a Thursday, we look like we're closing really, really strong, and then you wake up at 6 the next morning, and it's just it could be continuation, it could be hard reset. There is really this 24-hour or just market trading session kind of hard reset as to price action and sentiment. So luckily for us, again, as we wore our clown suit last a week, we've been jiggling the wrong way. We've been zigging when the stocks have been zagging. But still from here, no position, just wanting to comment. Again, don't really feel silly. It's just you have to make a decision, have to preserve capital. Because the biggest positions that I would be adding to, again, are these index funds, making trades around index fund income funds, specifically for right now, but just, again, trying to swing trade or just trade the overall, I don't say macro, but again, a 3-month trend with a backdrop of a 3-year trend is really the things that you would the most capitalizable, the most monetizable, the most securing the bag opportunities of market dynamics is these kind of medium-term trends, 3 months in relation to 3 years. And so we try to do the three days as well, but those are typically just for relief moves. Hey, we're trading really strong in one day, we're going to get some sort of relief. You could enter a position, which again I think is another very high conviction, but with very tight stop losses. Again, your dead cat bounces could immediately return back to depreciation. Your buy or your selling pressure could immediately return to continued uptrends. So continuing to emphasize that, I don't think there's a good way to really, hey, hard reset from one trading session to the next. Is it going to continue? Is it going to reset? We just kind of, I've seen no predictable dynamic. But regardless, that is what's going on. Not super exciting. Don't have really any positions, but we did see Abercrombie and Fitch this morning had a big earnings beat, and so again, same type of. Is this a bellwether? Are we a bellwether for American Eagle, which again is a stock we've watched and documented throughout this trading log? But this is kind of again for the overall portfolio management of, hey, I'm following the whole market. Trading certain sectors are just stuff I'm comfortable with. And then once you get into where you've watched the market 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 20 years, it's like you have a better feel, because what you're trying to do is develop intuition where it's like, hey, I can make meaningful decisions about what's going on with economic stimulus and corresponding price action. And so, meaning we have this big move on Abercrombie and Fitch. We can pop on over to American Eagle, which we followed for many years for substantial amount of time. We've kind of been channeling, between this 15 and 18 to 19. So it's like, hey, this might be a nice long position going into the fall time. Absolutely zero rocket science. Maybe a little more spending, maybe a little better on the earnings beat, and then back to our kind of articulated thesis of consumer discretionary spending for retail clothes. It's like, hey, if I'm walking around the mall, it's either I have some money to spend or I don't. Is Abercrombie and Fitch really doing something way different than American Eagle? My thesis would be no. My decision making would be no. So I'm kind of thinking of a long position over here on American Eagle, because they have a earnings call, conference call on the 9th. So, we got a couple weeks, 10 days, 10 trading sessions, something to that effect. Not something I'm going to buy on the American Abercrombie & Fitch news today, because this is not a substantial move. Frankly, I kind of expected a little bigger move, but with these more developed industries without a ton of momentum, right, this isn't memory, this isn't the overall umbrella of technology, but hey, right, we have cyclicality. We might be rotating some of our capital expenditure, our CapEx is going into, well, it doesn't even make any sense. But people just, again, rotating money, again, that's kind of like the verbiage they use. But again, that's one of those things where it's like, does that make sense? Does it not make sense? Not sure, no conviction. But certainly seasonality, cyclicality to demand for the holiday season. Hey, maybe a long position over here on American Eagle. They come out after the 9th of September. They have a conference call, earnings report like Abercrombie and Fitch. I would expect a similar type move. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. No real conviction. I don't want to say I feel silly about CF. It's just a, hey, I have to protect capital. And this isn't to say this is going to now go into an immediate downtrend, right? If I thought that, I would probably take a position here. But it's just commenting on the hard reset of Friday of when we close to when we open up and it's retreated. It's like, is there any way to predict that? I don't think so. But regardless, that is what I wanted to comment on. And Liz, my girlfriend, what's up? You see that? It's called a bed frame. Look at that. But nothing else really going on. Again, moving out of the storage unit. Again, complete profound destruction to historical pieces, but obviously nobody cares. And so that's really what I have for now. There's, again, a little conversation on the Meta trial. Again, I think that's total nonsense. We covered that last time. That other trial where the chick, again, the whole legal process is clearly, again, how many years have I been sitting on here saying, here is the law, and then literally nobody cares, and then everyone's following false authorities, the historical jurisprudence reference, and it's just true. And it's just like all of that, again, Eric Weinstein and Lex Friedman sitting down, maybe we should, and then Eric goes, oh, we'll go to jail. You'll literally go to jail if you'll do the right thing, the legally obligated thing, to the point where you'll sit on a podcast and kind of like chuckle and laugh about it. It's like, you guys don't understand all of the people that will follow false authority. They're kind of just like coward, pathetic losers. And then once people follow the right authority, which is just the law, which is just reflecting of human experience that everyone agrees with, and common law is not written down at any point in history. It's just all of the shit that you know is wrong. And then all of that will line up, and then there won't be all of these coward, spineless nobodies that can just, hey, we're going to laugh on a podcast at another person's life being destroyed, and just like genuinely feel like, obviously we won't do that. Right? That's historically following false authority, and as a grown adult, it's just being a huge bitch. But again, you guys aren't adults, you aren't men, you aren't women, you're just cowards, you're just criminals, you just lie, you just cheat, and you just steal. Because that's all you're good for. But over here, still trying to do the best we can. Can't really do anything. Still in possession of the most valuable mathematical transcript in history. The most important historical documentation, again damaged by Tatiana Toro out of the MSRI in Cal Berkeley. The entire academic structure is completely fraudulent. Getting back to the point I was about to make was just this trial of this, again, woman kills her 3 young kids all over the mainstream news. And then you have expert witnesses. You have people from both sides, because again, this is, again, where adults just like to play games. There's no laws. There's no, you definitely did this. I mean, same thing with the Mangione trial. And he comes out, he's like, okay, I did it. Which, again, obviously he did it. It's just first-degree murder. Like, there's nothing to, and then they're having, some sort of jurisprudence game. Well, he needs to go to New York for the state trial, or needs to go to the Fed state. It's just like the purpose of court and the legal proceedings is to establish what has occurred. We did not have this big fanfare parade, whatever. And so the entire legal structure is completely fraudulent. Again, immediately. There's nothing to say. People don't respond to the right things. Grow up is the only thing to say, and obviously nobody listens. But for the Mangione trial, right, we don't need to have this big fanfare. It's okay, I did it. It's like, fantastic, done, guilty, whatever the punishments are. For the chick that's like, just say, oh, I went into psychosis. I had bipolar 2. Well, I have bipolar 69. I have bipolar 420, 69, 67. And then again, this is the medical practitioners. We call our expert witness, and he testifies in front of the enthralled jury, and it's being broadcasted on the national news, and it's a bunch of kids just playing games called law. Ah. And then we have people accepting, I went into psychosis. That's a word. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just absolutely just murdered my kids. What am I doing? I have no responsibility. And then you have quote-unquote legal professionals that will get up on the stand and be like, yep, that's a valid thing. And it's not. I mean, we're beyond carnival level nothingness. And so again, all of this expert witness where it's, again, I am still sitting here, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, here is every syllable of logical structure you could articulate in order, round 3. We just have this acceptance at the society level of, hey, I'm insecure about something. We don't even need to vocalize it, and that is our guiding light. That is our unifying principle. That is our values. We say we have values, and then we have none, and then we just judge everybody, and we just hunker down in our own little group, and most importantly, we're too stupid to know what to do. Because again, this whole legal proceeding of you can have expert witnesses saying she had bipolar 2 and she was psychotic, and now we have a fake disease assigned to saying, hey, this person doesn't have to take responsibility for their behavior, is atrocious. But obviously, again, there's no values, there's no morals. Again, anybody that is aware of my work, that is, again, instinctually knows they will do nothing to disseminate scientific information, to respect the law. Again, at the direct statement of I am criminally prosecuting everybody going to these schools that is living careers that I don't get to live. Right? You guys just take all of my property, literally steal my personal realization, and then just nobody cares? And you are genuinely stupid enough to think that's not going to be the most profound legal consequence in human history. And we just keep not caring about anything. But you guys just will never mature. It's just legal punishment done. But there's no law enforcement, legitimately. And so that was just a quick comment, quick talking point. Just what's going on with the news, what I see on different channels. And then Gemmy, I guess one final comment on Gemmy. Because again, we had a little continued strength. Still, again, Bitcoin 78,000. Not as big of a response. Not that I say Gemmy is super Bitcoin or crypto environment specific, but this overall exchange environment. But if we get a quote-unquote true bull market, or again, just continued headlines, I do expect this to appreciate a good amount. And so, on the sidelines on pretty much everything right now, slight conviction on American Eagle with this American Abercrombie and Fitch earnings report. I'll probably take a small long position because again, when I'm making this trading log, if I don't have a position, I just don't even remotely look at anything, care. But I like doing this. Again, this is all just documentation of all of the things that are sitting on YouTube, all of my different playlists, all of the things I've started and definitely made videos for. They haven't gone away. It's just what am I spend? I have to go do a little editing here or a little this, and it's just I can't do. It's just pure destruction of property. But obviously, again, nobody respects the law. Certainly not the governor of Ohio. Certainly not the president of the United States. And so, obviously, I will never live a day of my life. But we continue to try. Not much luck on anything. As always, selling, again, profound amounts of historical pieces. Just, whatever market value is. Again, literally about to go sell I have an old, analog or, cassette DVR Canon XL1. Just like this old kind of retro camera, which was the first camera I used for the Rethink YouTube channel back in college, which is like the beginning of where it's like I'm doing realization of mathematical proofing every day to the point where it's like, here's like 10 proofs a day, genuinely. And just like people can't like shut the fuck up and listen. It's just like we can't listen. We don't know how to behave. You're not allowed to do research at a research institution as you're a paying student. You have to do our curriculum. Ha ha ha. Time for another game. If you don't pass Eric Broughton's class, you clearly can't do scientific research. But teacher Eric Broughton is clearly having like what you guys now call ontological shock. He's having a visceral reaction to science. So how am I supposed to live a life when you're literally again having like an emotional reaction to like 1 + 1 = 2? And just another day of that. But that's where we're at in the markets, no real positions. We did sell out of QQQI, just having a stop loss right around our entry. Again, technically over here, I don't put too much weight into these things, like the chart setup, because this is, again, just mostly the overall market sentiment. You turn on CNBC, the screen's green, this is going to be up, screen's red, this is going to be down. But just right around our entry price at 53.87, and so just put a stop loss out up there. We stopped out the other day. Again, any sort of selling pressure, we will reinitiate a position. This is something I like to be in, just trying to trade this. How meaningful we can do so hasn't been too successful yet. But that is where we're at. Just some brief commentary and finishing up at 12:07. So we will check in later. Thursday, August 27th, 11:06 a.m. What's up, everybody? Checking back in the markets, wallowing in our sorrows over here on CF. Again, a little commentary on trading management. Nothing super novel or new from the last clip, but again, just hey, we have this buying pressure, close out, and then we retrace. Is there any sort of stimulus? Is there anything that's gone on with the Washington-Iran relationships that would cause this? I would say no. But kind of to the broader, more general point, it's again, we said it a bunch, but how certain can you be about a given economic stimulus related to a price action movement? Hey, something comes out, stock goes up. Are we sure this caused that to go up? Hey, something comes out, stock comes down. Are we sure that caused something to go down? That whole association of correlation to the point of causation, this caused that, to me is always very wishy-washy, just uncertain. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But for our documentation here, I saw nothing that would, again, hey, what causes this to go down? I would just say this is normal trading activity, meaning a normal fluctuation range. Hey, stock goes up for about 3 days, 3 to 4 days, a week, some sort of just, again, normal movement outside of a given stimulus. So have not seen anything new with the Iran-Washington war, conflict, diplomatic relationships, seeing, again, I wouldn't call this substantial retracement, but just, again, hey, $100 to $130 stock, a movement of $5 to $10 is not really a thing. So we try to time it. Obviously, we're kind of on this whipsaw, this roller coaster, and so not super exciting because, again, we pretty much close out our loss pretty much at the peak as we covered in the last episode, but just really documenting this points of decision. Hey, we're trading with strength. We're really at our kind of our max pain for how much loss we want to take on this trade. Like we said, does get to this 132, but pretty much immediately after that comes back down, and I think 122 or 121.95 would have been our break even for our 35 share lot. And then I think because we did close 15 shares, we had 50 at one point. And so right around 121 would have been our true break even. And so it's just one of these movements like, hey, $10 above our entry pushes us out of the trade. No real economic reason. Again, we take the trade, then some bombing, some more tensions arise. There's no way that's the trade we're taking. Goes against us, so we're wrong. And then to what dollar level does the security get to? again, is well within. It's just normal. Again, this appreciation from 100 to 142 is well within this elevated price range of Iran and Washington conflict. And so overall, kind of a lot of words to say. I don't really see a causation besides, again, hey, we've had some sort of stimulus, some sort of bombing, and then again we have this 3-day move from right here where we said, hey, looks like good for a nice big red candle. Didn't get the big red candle. We documented that a clear break of above a price level, which that would make any sense to say that it's going to go lower, or to say, hey, there hasn't been a movement yet, but we were definitively wrong. So we broke up on here, and then we had that day, right? This was the breakup, and then we closed down. We were kind of like, hey, there's nothing. We ended up closing lower, but there was no real clear reason, and then we continued to the upside. So we get 3 more days, and then we can just kind of back off of those levels without any real clear kind of cause, but well within any sort of normal price action. Again, a lot of words to say, hey, no real causation, stucks that, or at least that I can, again, definitively say, or even any sort of inclination, and then, hey, kind of stinks, we're off of our levels, but this was kind of the trade we're taking, something that doesn't really trend, that doesn't really have like a trading action throughout the day. It's just day to day, right? One trading session to the next. Any sort of economic, geopolitical stimulus, you get some sort of, hey, $3 to $4 up or down. And so that is what, again, like I said, wallowing in our sorrows over here, because we've been right around our entry price, but that it is what it is. Still the form of all of language. It's still my property. Still don't have constitutional rights. Another day. Just had a good neighbor. I forget his first name, but somebody I definitely went to school with, Mr. Vaughn, walking past one of the neighborhood guys. He's like, what's going on? What's up? Again, family friend of James Ryan, the lawyer we talk about all of the time. And it's just so strange to be, again, held against my will in a community where people are like, what's up? And it's like, I've watched all of these people do nothing besides gossip their entire lives. And it's like I literally don't even know what to say in person. And it's like, this isn't someone who's like caused me a lot of damages or any like directly. And it's just like, but I have nothing to say to these people. And so I'm just held in an environment I don't want to be in, surrounded by people I don't want to interact with. And then what's up? It's like literally every single day I make videos about being held against my will, about my rights being violated, about my property being destroyed. This is the true American experience. Like, it's just people too immature and underdeveloped to even like know what to do when something really goes wrong. And it's just, Brad's life is destroyed. Literally nobody cares. Hey man, what's up? It's like, don't have a career, don't have a family. It's all because of crime. There's 25 to 100 people in my direct immediate community that have professional legal obligations, that are raising families with careers at Ohio State, with careers where they've gotten issued professional licensures. It's like, hey man, what's up? It's like, I literally don't even know what to say. I was just like, he's like, oh, nice to see you. And I'm like literally not even responding vocally in person. It's like, I have no idea what to say. My life is destroyed. I am the victim of crime. It is the direct result of the slander, defamation of character, and reputation destruction done by this community. But again, they don't care. They can't care. They don't have the emotional development to care. So can't emphasize that enough. Again, my life quality remains at 0. Literally no one cares. But that's what we're doing over here at CF. Probably won't reinitiate a position. Again, it's just this, not because again, I really don't have this bias of it's like I make money and I think this is a good stock, or I lose money and like I'm against this stock. It's just the overall conviction of a movement. And so I still have this conviction of, hey, whenever there is this definitive headline, this thing will absolutely gap down $10, 100%. When is that day going to come? Is that day going to come? I still think certainly at some point. Is that tomorrow? Is that in a week? Is that in a month? And so it's just like that, the risk reward of, hey, I do have some conviction. It's really not a conviction of like trading dynamic in the sense of like intraday movements. And so it's really just this very discrete, hey, this war stimulates, we go up $10, war goes away, we go down $10 really quickly, kind of like overnight, or again on the news break. And so it's just like that type of risk reward for, again, not having constitutional rights. It's just not like a type of trade I want to take where this overall environment is, hey, unless I have extreme conviction, then I might take a little small position. I'm really doing nothing. And so also thought it was relevant to pop on for, again, the most important day of the market environment, NVIDIA's earnings report. So they had blowout earnings. Again, overall sentiment-wise, I don't see a huge response, but certainly, again, stock goes up, right? And then, as we've commented many times, the most important day of all of stock trading, of all of market dynamics, of all of the economy, the most valuable company in the world, NVIDIA's earnings reports. So it reported, beat the earnings, and the stock went up a little bit, like every other stock, huh? But it is the highest, most valuable one. But again, now how many companies do we have over $1 trillion? Or what is NVIDIA, 5 trillion? And Apple's like 4 trillion. So how many things do we have over 2.5 trillion? Is there any real meaning to, again, this overall, hey, this is the biggest company in the market? Again, without like a substantial market share in relation to the plurality or just other companies, okay, NVIDIA's valued at $5 trillion, but the overall GDP estimate is like $45 to $50 trillion of the United States market. So it's like, hey, if you had a single company or single conglomerate of market share of more than 50%, certainly that would be a big thing. But just overall, most valuable company, highest market capitalization, fantastic. Is it a substantial chunk of the market capitalization of the whole environment? No. So it's just like awesome, great, fantastic. And as we kind of lightly make fun of, or again, just directly state, why is NVIDIA's earnings such a big deal? Not really sure. But it's our bellwether, it's our staple, it's a something for the tech trade umbrella thing, chips and stuff. Again, I'm making fun. Again, of all of the people committing crimes, all of these companies allow there to go out there and sell their products and go raise this round and raise this round and this entrepreneur. And then all we have, where was that one guy? Leopold, where'd he go? Aschenberger, where'd he go? And it's just all of these privileged people that get to live lives and they contribute literally nothing to the world and they just commit crime, and just so many people are committing crimes that nobody cares. Fraud, racketeering, conspiracy by every major company the minute you interact with the academic structure, which is everybody. The minute you get a licensure from one of these, not standardized credential granting systems, you're perfect. You can get a degree in law from this school or from that school or from this school. It's not accredited. You kind of just pay us enough money, sit enough time, and then, hey, enough of people that did the same thing say, yep, you're good to go. And so we just don't have a society. We don't have any morals. There's no values. You literally can't live a life to the point where you're sitting outside and the neighbor walks by. Hey, Brad, what's up? How's it going? It's like, it's going terrible, brother. It couldn't be going worse. I live at my parents' house because of profound crime. And it's just like, what about the law? What about the Constitution? But again, this is what scapegoating does. Nobody in this community processes that as a real thing. And it's just the most blatant, direct felonies that have ever existed. But this is what being a scapegoat is. People cannot take your life as it matters in any way. And he literally is like, hang in there. It's like, I can't fucking hang, dude. Like, I have grave bodily harm because I don't have constitutional rights. Why doesn't James Ryan use his law degree to respect the Constitution? Oh, that's right, because there are no values. There are no morals. Nobody cares. I can't emphasize enough, none of my personal realization, which is the entire structure of logic, because it is slang, articulated first axiomatic derivation, you guys are not allowed to steal my property, and it's physically impossible not to. But this community is such a moral failure. This is the greatest crime in human history, and people are too pathetic to accept that's real, and it just keeps going. With no end in sight. I don't care. I'm not trying to help anybody. I want my money and away from people that literally behave like petulant little 14-year-olds, which is everybody. And then it never changes. And then the next day shows up. And then one day you're going to be 33 in 2 weeks, a week and a half, and you haven't lived one day of your life. I cannot speak the way I want to about the crimes being committed against me. I cannot state it any more seriously. I want every criminal charge pressed yesterday against every single person who has suppressed science. There has never been a greater time of criminal activity, and nobody can care. I'm still surrounded by these big educational systems. There's Westerville Central. There's St. Francis de Sales. Energy is movement potential. What are we teaching our kids in physics class? Just steal from Brad? Right? Huh. Rhythm is a set of steps. Immediately, empirically, viscerally true. It's the most foundational, comprehensive thing you can say about physics. Rhythm maximizes momentum. Again, I put it on a whole billboard outside of a major R1 institution. Go Buckeyes, Jim Tressel, lieutenant governor. No values, no morals, no adulthood. Coward. Loser. Again, Maurice Claret was a great example for our just how sports teach the next generation to care about things that matter. shout out to Tressel. You guys are so great. Again, The Ohio State University is such an absolute disgrace. The fact that there's boards member, I don't even know their names, I don't know who they are, but they're walking around Central Ohio, they're part of this community. You guys are disgusting. You continue to violate my rights. You continue to suppress science. And again, your professors, the great Christopher Harada, the great Eric Broughton, the great Tigray Faraday, had visceral empirical reactions to fundamental scientific disclosure. 1 + 1 = 2. Oh my gosh, I'm so offended. Where's the dark energy super colliders? Ah! And now Brad doesn't get to have a career and a family because of that. Thank you, Governor DeWine. Thank you for standing up for all Ohioans. You stood up for all Ohioans, like you said in the state speech. Stability, Governor. We want stability here in Ohio. We lie to all of our kids about fundamental science. Energy is movement potential, Governor. Movement potential, energy. It's the most comprehensive thing you can say about all physics that isn't known right now. Oh, it is what it is, Governor. Uh-oh. But Brad doesn't get to have a career and a family. Thank you for standing up for that stability of all Ohioans, Governor. Again, I continue to be held against my will in direct violation of the Constitution. Nobody cares. I wonder how many times, again, I can articulate profound felonies being committed against me in an environment where people are like, oh yeah, dude, the law and order, America, freedom, hard work, the law, freedom, the law. And you guys are just profound hypocrites. Like, in historical context, the highest level that could exist. Direct projection. You say one thing, the next action out of your body directly invalidates that. Immediately. I've never met a single person otherwise. So Nvidia's going up a little bit, great earnings, all of the privileged people, all of the engineers, all of the architects, all of the whoever got degrees from fraudulent institutions, they get employed, they get healthcare, they get to have careers, they get to have a family, and I don't. Awesome. Last thing to say on the markets, Gemmy, again, another, this would have been, again, we would have gotten another, at $5, again, we would have had another $150 get back. All right, recouping our losses over here. Just trying to have fun with this. Again, I still think this is a pretty good overall value structure. The sector's going to come back. But nothing really new to say past that. So again, memory, Micron's SanDisk, still just kind of channeling, nothing new to say over here. And so pretty kind of, light up day. Nvidia, big earnings, nothing really striking me too much. We have that Lindsay Clancy's final hearings for, again, back to our legal structure having literally no validity whatsoever. Oh yeah, we're all adults in a community, and we're going to entertain the aspect of, oh dude, I was blacked out. I had crazy psychosis, bipolar 2, squared to the 6th, 7th power. Therefore, I wiped out my kids. No liability. Nope. No, that's a real legal argument happening right now today. Throw all of that shit away. If you entertain that as a legitimate legal defense, I have a fake disease, so therefore I can wipe out. It's to the point where it's comic. Like I almost laughed. I don't have responsibility. Oops, wiped out my family. Not guilty. She was psychotic stage 4 bipolar 2. It's like, no, this is not behavior we're accepting at any point. No. But that person, the lawyers, the defense attorneys, they're over there. Everyone has the right to a just trial. Due process of law, except for Brad. Again, we're right back to we're at the same Constitution. The same exact document. Lou Elizondo says national security as he viscerally just exudes that he knows he's doing the wrong thing. First law ever recorded in human culture, don't follow false authority. What is every single person doing right now watching this video? Hey guys, Derek, looking at you, Derek. Crimes. I can feel you fucking idiots. Nobody cares. I wonder how many times I can talk about the felonies. But again, nobody cares about anything. And so, yeah. That whole trial again is just bonkers to me. But again, you just see how those lawyers are like, yep, due process of law. What's our defense? Oh, I have this fake disease. Yep, that's a good one. We're going to run with that. And then the whole society accepting this game. Once you establish what has occurred, that is the point of all of court, not to have some big sort of hoopla, procedure, proceeding, parade. It's just not the point. But nobody cares. Haha, skibbity toilet. I just want to take this time to shout out all of the guardians in my community, all of those adults that really, again, did nothing. This world is a terrible place. You can't live here. But that's what I have for the markets. Pretty overall kind of light sentiment to the upside day. Nvidia earnings, Lindsay Clancy trial, and I don't have constitutional rights. That's it. Yesterday's clip was 17 minutes. This will probably be its own video, and we'll check in later.